If Perry was in the woods saying his cell phone and nobody heard him, how many times would he keep saying his cell phone?
Elo. 8. Golf. Quebec.
What is up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8 Papa Zoo November, the Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by. Your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. It is Hump Day. Time for the Hump Day Happy Hour. It's going to be a great stream, even though I do not have no sleep. So if I fall asleep, we're going to blame Dan for boring me. But I don't think our guest is going to bore anybody. But we'll get to that in a minute. Before we do all that wonderful stuff, we're going to jump over here and we're going to thank these guys right here. Thanks to each and every Patreon, including our newest Patreon, which Dan's going to have to change some music for. So that's going to be awesome. We've actually picked up 2 Patreons in the last 2 weeks. So starting to get back on track with that. But I think that's because they know it's coming up on Patreon season.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see about that. Also, a big shout out to the YouTube members. Although I'm still wondering, Dan, what's so scary about being a POTA rover?
I guess when you mention that you go out there and you nonchalantly do 50 parks and you had room for more, it's a little scary.
I don't know, man. Anyway, shout out to all of them, even the ones scared to be a POTA rover. And then the ever-changing board who didn't change nothing this past weekend. So shout out to each and every one of you guys. And now we're going to let Dan take it away.
Guess who was first in the chat, James?
I'm going to say Whiskey One Whiskey Charlie.
I thought you were going to say Andy Cowley. You were right. Our guest of honor tonight, Mr. Single Operator 3 Radio himself, was first in the chat. Next was my boo, Kilo Delta 9 Uniform Delta Victor. Yeah, he was second. And then Anna T, she was in here. Let's see who Georgia Parks and Popcornigation. That's Alpha Echo 4 X-Ray Oscar. Kilo 9 Alpha Echo Echo. Good to see you. What's happening, Mo? Kilo Oscar 4 Golf Bravo Bravo. Sidewalk Sherry is in the house. Kilo Echo 8 Yankee Victor Delta. And I'm still mad you didn't bring the deer home. I'm telling you, I'm never going to forget. Michael Roberts, the PP man. Good to see you. Whiskey 8 Echo Romeo and fam. Liz, good to see you. Alpha Delta 2 Charlie Delta. Toby's in the house. Kilo 8 Golf Quebec. Yes, you are on the log. Thank you. Victor Echo 3 X-Ray November Sierra Stroke Tango Bravo is in the house. Good to see you. Mike 88 KB. Kilo Oscar 4 November Lova Smoking POTA is in the house. And it's coming up to be brisket season. So I'm looking forward to this. Kilo 8 Golf Quebec. Yep, you're still in the log. Good to see you. Hef K4HEF. Rock on, brother. Good to see you. N8TIN, one Dan to another. Always good to see you, buddy. KO4FSZ Antennas is in the house. November 4, Charlie Whiskey Bravo. Craig, always good to see you. Christopher Buttman, hello. Whiskey Zero, Charlie Golf Charlie from East Tennessee has graced us with his presence. Chris, always good to see you. My boo again. He said he heard that PP Man found his pants. That's always good to know. Good to know. Scott, November 2, Tango Kilo Tango. Good evening. Kilo 4, Lima, India. Josh, Yellow. Kilo Echo 4, Eastern Standard Time. Hello. Brian Moss. Reed, AB8AS. Good to see you, buddy. And Ronnie, Kilo Oscar 4, Zulu. Romeo X-Ray is in the house. Happy Hump Day.
Wow, what a crowd already.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I don't even care whether PP Man found his pants or not. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Something I don't normally do because he's little guys and we don't never hear him. But he's finally figured out what me and Steven has been telling him for months upon months. If you're going to do QRP, do CW, and it'll open the world to you.
That's right.
And this man has now finally spotted on POTA doing his CW activations and even called me asking me if I wanted to buy his Elecraft mic. Why I would want to buy his Elecraft mic, I don't know, because we all know if I'm doing QRP, I'm doing CW.
And he's not using the question mark very much either, which is kind of impressing. Either I missed two people or you just joined Brent, November 4, Bravo Delta Whiskey. Always good to see you. And my buddy Curtis. Everybody knows him. Kilo Bravo 3, Charlie Mike Tango. Good to see you, buddy.
I mean, he's kind of been not needing to use the question mark because he's been taking the Indiana Island CW Club every evening.
Yeah, that's true.
I called him twice last night, and both times I get both of them on the phone because they're studying.
Oh, studying. Okay. Is that what they're calling it now?
Yeah. So yeah, but since I gave him a shout out, we'll also fuss at him too, because PP Man is known to be a little small. So he sent me links for something, and guess what? He sent me links that were way too small. So he's still the PP Man for forever.
They might have been small for you, but they fit for him. You know.
Anyway, Brian, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Just getting all the contacts.
No kidding. Yeah, all of them.
When he says contacts, he means like Dan means watts. All of them.
Yeah, no kidding.
So for those of you who don't know Brian, you probably do know him. You just don't know him by his name. This is Whiskey 1 Whiskey Charlie. And he's been doing some single op 3 radio activations lately, and we figured we'd bring him on to talk about it. See if you guys think he's crazy or totally sane, like I think he is. But the interesting thing, if you go over and you look at the POTA spots right now, you will watch his spots moving from band to band to band, because when you're truly running 3 radios on a digital mode, it's going to move you every time the ribbon picks you up on all those other bands. Unlike people who claim to run 3 radios and their spots never move. But we'll leave that for another time.
And we'll have video live on the internet proof tonight. He's actually there doing it. Go figure. Mike Smith, good to see you, buddy. Golf Zero Radio Fox Delta. Welcome.
So, Brian, before you get started on everything, tell everybody how you got started in ham radio, because I like to start that way.
Oh man, it's been a long time. So, I got into radio maybe 13 years ago or so. Just had a couple buddies of mine back in Michigan, and some family members that were ham radio operators, and they said, "Hey, I'll buy you this cheap handheld if you go and pass your test." And that was all the motivation I needed. And then from there, I just did mostly field days. That was my favorite thing back in the day, was just going to field days. And I kind of kind of came back around in maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where I started to be more involved in ham radio, doing a lot more field days. And ever since this past field day, maybe a month before the past field day, it's the first time I activated Parks on the Air, and just have got bit by the bug, and now I'm tons of radios deep and sitting at a park at night in the rain and wind and trying to convince people I'm not crazy.
I don't think you got bit by the bug, brother. I think you got bit by the pterodactyl.
Well,
It is awesome.
Dan says West Virginia's getting ready to get a lot of rain and maybe lightning and stuff. And I just looked at the lightning map, and yeah, it looks like it's headed this way, Dan. But thank you very much for the heads up. I won't be going out after a stream anyway, because I'll be in after chat, and I kind of don't need to be out in the wind. So, all right. So what provoked you to just say, I think I'm going to take 3 radios out and just work on all of them? Where did that come from?
So there's a couple different reasons why I wanted to. First and foremost is it's a really good way to get a lot of contacts, and I really wanted a lot of contacts for some of my parks, especially the park that my home park. I really would love to get towards the top of that list. Another reason is I really want to get my N1CC award, that worked 10 parks on 10 bands, and this is a really, really good way to do it. Maybe 2 months ago, I set up and did SO2R. I did 2 radios, one running digital and one trying to do phone, but I didn't have bandpass filters, didn't set up my antennas right, and it was pretty rough. So I ended up doing 2 digitals. And then I recently got a set of bandpass filters, and it kind of changed everything, because when I tested it the other night, it's much easier to do phone. So I decided if I can do 1 digital, it's just as easy to do 2 radios on digital, and while you're calling CQ.
If you do 3 on digital, let's say you go to a new park you've never been to, and you're doing 3 radios on digital, it should take you what, 10 minutes to get your 10 bands at that park, maybe?
Well, you do have to switch filters. I only have 80 through 15 for my filters,
Right.
so I don't have a 160 or a 10 or 6 yet. That's in the bookmarks, but so you do have to switch the filters every time, so your filters are per band. So if you got a couple digital contacts and switched every time, it probably wouldn't take more than a couple hours, especially if the bands are good and you're lucky enough to get 160 and 80.
You should build you some kind of antenna switch that drives a filter array, so you can just switch to filters.
I've looked into it. Put a 1 to 4 switch on both sides and run 4 filters, and you just switch between them. I've thought about doing that, but
PP Man says the reason why you're out there doing this is because James has not done it yet.
And for those of you who does not speak Minganese, what PP Mean was saying is he just volunteered to buy me bandpass filters so I can do it.
There you go. That's what I heard too.
And you can get some pretty cheap ones off AliExpress. I have some from, I think they're from RNL. They're like $70 a piece. So they're and if you know the bands that you want to work, it doesn't, like, if you just want to go out and make a lot of contacts, not necessarily N1CC. If you get a 40-meter bandpass and a 20-meter bandpass, you'd be set up to do SO2R for, $150.
And yes, I do hope it helps with the wildfires. It has been extremely smoky here. Like, I feel like I'm living in California minus the everybody controlling my life thing. But it's been so smoky here. So hopefully the brain will help with that. So, that's what I want is 20 and 40, because I don't need to do 3 radios. I need to do 2 at once, because I want to do a 1-op 2 radio sideband activation. I want to call CQ on 20 and 40 at the same time, and see if see what kind of pile up mastering skills I can run with that. I've been thinking a lot about doing it, and that's something I would really like to do as well.
I think if you had like 2 sets of earbuds, put one in one ear and one in the other, and then 2 cell phones to do your logging.
Yeah,
because you don't have to switch frequencies.
I was thinking about that, but that's not going to help him too much.
No, that's not. It's not going to help me at all.
What I would do, James, I would take one of your VFOs and RIT. Don't change your transmit frequency, but RIT your receive down so one of your radios is physically a different pitch. You know what I mean? So you know which one it came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that would be the hardest part to me, is to figure out which one you called me on. Because you're not going to be looking at the radios, you know what I mean?
So the reason, Brian, that wouldn't help me is I'm deaf in my right ear.
Oh, right.
So basically, I would just not hear nothing from the one radio.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of agains.
I actually thought, maybe do one CW and one sideband, but man, that would be so hard. Because here's the thing: although I could send CW and talk, my problem is not decoding. It's if I don't hear myself sending, I mess up. That's my big problem.
Boo says he'll cross mode you park to park on 2 bands at the same time.
That would be really, really cool. I don't know how you would do that, but it would be really cool. If I say the CW station and both bands come back, because I figured now for the.
Did I lose audio? No, James, you muted yourself. Here, I'll unmute you. Oh, it says your mic is not connected. I can't unmute you. Now, there you go. You're back.
Okay. Yeah, when I move my hand, I hit the cable.
Gotcha.
But now I hear an echo.
You're on the wrong mic.
Yeah, it's actually it sounds like you're on your laptop mic and not your what do you call that? Your orb of doom.
The snowball.
All right,
But if anybody has questions for Brian in the chat as we go through his radio setups here over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to go in depth about what he's running, how he's running it, and what he's doing to mitigate interference, antenna setups. He has some pictures. He has a couple tricks up his sleeve of different angles he's going to show you too. So you got questions that you want to ask him, just throw them in the chat, and we'll get him to answer it. And
I'll be right back while you're doing that.
Yeah, sure. Mo wants to know your antenna orientation.
So if you're not using bandpass filters, the best way to mitigate interference between one antenna and the other is to orient your antennas so the radiated signals don't intersect the other antenna. So if you run 2 dipoles, one north and south, and one east and west, that'll mitigate it to an extent. If you run one vertical, one horizontal, that helps quite a bit.
Okay, so if you're running 2 wires, run them perpendicular to each other.
Yes, yeah, run one east-west, one east-west, one north-south.
One that way, one that way.
Yep.
Gotcha. Verticals or end feds, what do you got out there right now? Actually, guys, he's in a park right now. He's at Joe Wheeler State Park. So,
yep. So I've done end feds and verticals. I've had some interference with end feds, but right now I have my my truck with a mount 25-foot whip, a tripod with 17-foot whip and radials, and then I have my 40-foot spider beam with an 80-meter linked dipole, just inverted V.
And I believe one of these pictures you sent me, or 2, are of your antennas. Let me pop this one up here. All right, there we go.
So this is just a tripod. It's all the way on the ground, locked all the way down, and that's a 17-foot whip with ground radials. I think they're just 6-foot ground radials, not very much. And then that's the 25-foot whip. I have a bar that goes across the back of my truck that has a 3/8 24 mount on it, and
Is that
that's where I
bonded to
have
the
my
frame of your
hamsters.
truck?
It is not, but the ground is.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, no issues with that as far as tuning goes. I can even tune. That's a 25-foot whip. I can tune that 40 through 6 on my internal tuner on my 7300. So
Nice.
it does pretty good.
What if you had to choose your favorite bands to run right now? What do you think they would be?
Oh man, for digital 30,
Mhm.
30 meters really good for digital.
I love 30. Yeah.
And during the day 20 is really really good. And then for voice during the day 20, at night 40. Usually pretty much what I would say if you're going with filters and a good antenna setup, choose what you want to work the most. Like if you're doing single sideband on any of the radios, that's going to be the one that you want to focus on, because you don't want to work on a bad band. Like you probably don't want to do 80 in the middle of the day just because that's the one that you have your coax hooked up to. So choose whatever one you want. So 20 during the day, and it doesn't really matter where your other radios are at. If there's almost always someone on digital for all the other bands, but 30, 40, and 20 are really good for digital.
Yeah, awesome. Welcome, Gene McPhee and 3XUS in the chat. I see you in there, buddy. And KEC5MJE, Kenny, good to see you. And Kelly, KI4JAV. Welcome, welcome. Let's James, you back with your audio?
Yeah, I'm back. I believe so. Will you tell me? Am I back?
It sounds like you're still on not your snowball mic.
Oh, that's weird because it said I was. Hold on.
But we can still hear you. But let's go from the beginning. When you decide to go to a park, and I'm gonna lead into a picture that I'm about to put up here. What goes into your strategy of packing all of this equipment, and how do you get it all to the park without having it a big giant mess?
So the worst thing about doing multiple radios is the time that you put into it when you're at the park. So if you go, you can have an awesome setup for all your radios, 1,000 bags, but if you have to set up all your radios, each one every time, then that's contacts you're not making or bands you're not able to get on when you're there. So if you can get as many of your radios ready, as close to being ready to on the air as possible before you get to the park, then that's going to be the best thing that you can do, because the whole goal is to get there and get on the air. So for me, I decided my first test for SL3R was just hooking it all up in the truck and then driving to the park. And that did really well. It was really nice having all the storage of a truck right there where you were working, and then you just set out your antennas and get going. But this park, I'm actually within 100 feet of the Tennessee River, so it counts as a twofer, but I can't activate from my truck and still have it be a twofer. So I have to take all my radios to the pavilion, and decided to basically invest in a setup where I can set all my radios up, get to a park bench, set a box on a table, and hook up coax and go. So this is just a Milwaukee Stacks, just from Home Depot, and it's got a bin on the bottom. It's a rolling cart with a bin on the bottom that holds all my coax, laptop, bandpass filters, everything extra on the bottom. The middle is like a garage that has a flip up door on it where I set up all my radios and tuners. Have all the cables ready to pull out and you hook them up immediately.
Everybody
And
everybody in the chat right now is giving you kudos for the GR1 bag.
yes, definitely. That is Thomas Witherspoon's reason. He's the reason why I had that backpack. It's very, very good. That's my normal hiking backpack. I'll put my 100-watt radio and a 20 amp hour bioeno and hike in the woods with that. Really, really like that backpack. Yeah, and then the orange case there is a 100 amp hour Bio-NO, a 20 amp hour Bio-NO, and then my 4.5 amp hour for my KX3.
And all that unfolds
Yep.
into
So
this
this is
awesomeness.
just a, you open the door on the front of it and pull out your coax and pigtails that go to your tuners, string the power leads out, hook up a microphone, and you're pretty much ready to go.
Oh, I spy a Soda Beams contest console.
Yes.
When I had
love it.
my ICOM, I loved that thing. Actually, I
It
still
is
have it.
fantastic.
I still have it. It's in the closet. But yes, I lived and died by that thing to the point where that first blue button on mine, the white lettering and the lines around it have rubbed off.
Yeah, I really, really love having that because on the ICOM, you can go into your menu and hit meter, and you have your ALC compression, SWR, power, voltage, and temperature all on one screen.
Yep.
So when you're running digital, it's really, really nice to still be able to have those buttons if you want to switch over and do CW memory keys or voice memory keys.
That is an impressive setup. All right, James, you back with us?
I've been back.
There you go.
Does this
Perfect.
audio sound better?
Oh man, you sound like you're on your snowball now.
This is really weird because I looked and it said I was on blue snowball default, and I just took and moved it down one mic that said blue snowball and a number, and that was the difference.
Now you know your snowballs have numbers.
Well, it's showing 3 different snowballs and I only have one, so I don't.
Gremlins. Yep. All right. So you got kudos on the GR1 bag. That is awesome.
Before we get to a couple of questions,
Yeah.
I got a question for PP Man because he seems to be really geeking out over the bag. So PP Man, if you could only have the bag or your gigaparts pole, which one would you have?
That's an easy choice.
All right. So Georgia Parks and Recreation Ron
Popcornigation
wants to know if you do different time slots on FT8 or how do you do that?
So with the filters, you can do anytime. It doesn't matter. If you're not running filters, you can absolutely get away with just doing, if you're not doing phone or CW alongside it, like if you're going out and just doing 2 digitals, set them both on TX first, and you shouldn't have any issues getting contacts that way, even without filters. But with filters, with good antennas, spaced out as far as you can, and paying attention to orientation, it doesn't really matter. They don't interfere with each other at all.
And this was something when we were talking about me doing the 2 radios that we were talking about possibly doing as well. Mo said he did it and it worked out okay. So there is the another option if you don't have filters right there.
Oh yeah, get them far enough apart. Yeah, I can see that.
Seems like I seen one more thing in there. What was it? No.
Oh, Josh said he even spied in your last picture there that you have an HT for 2 meters.
SO4R.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
SO4R. There you are.
I thought about it because all 3 of my HF radios, they all have digirigs, and I technically could run 3 digital and still call CQ, but I don't know. It doesn't feel as impressive as running another HF rig.
I could have done 2 radio 1 op easy when I was in Canada because I could have easily done 2 meter and one of the sidebands and got contacts on both easily.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people that go out and activate HF, and maybe they're running digital and just decide to call out on 2 meter and not even realize that they're already doing SO2R. It doesn't have to be super complicated.
Yep, absolutely.
The most experience I have with it is I did SO2R hunting during the last plaque event, and basically digital on one, sideband CW on the other rig, and no bandpass filters, no nothing, antennas close together. But it took me about 5 or 6 hours into it, and I got the timing down pretty good between my digital transmit cycles and when I would try to get into a pilot. And I got that timing down pretty decently so I could run sideband and digital at the same time in that 15-second window of when you can talk, you know?
The
It was
downside
fun.
there is if you get activators that have weird cadences or switch it up all the time, it makes it difficult to predict that.
Brent's going to make his vegetable soup, 73. Ronnie says, nice setup, Brian. Beast mode. This is beyond beast mode. This is awesome. He has in just a second, we'll flop to his second camera because Brian came prepared tonight, guys. He came prepared to actually see his setup out there at the park right now as he's calling CQ. There you go. That is it in the flesh.
So if you want to, I've been working digital this whole time. That's why I'm looking over to the right. But yeah, this is just a 891 with a tuner, 7300 with a tuner, just because I'm running an antenna that's a little bit more than 3-to-1 on a bunch of bands, and then KX3, and they're all running DigRig, and then just 2 instances of WSJTX, and you just pay attention for the prompt QSO pop up and hit enable TX every time, and it's really easy if you're logging. Sorry, I think there's
No,
a
you're
bear
good.
or something over there.
Oh,
But
no.
yeah, if you just have your mouse next to your phone where you're logging. So I log on Polo, and then at the end of everything, I'll import my WSJTX logs into Polo. You know, if you're already logging, you just have your mouse right next to it. It's easy to click the 4 buttons and start calling CQ everywhere again.
I don't know if everybody on listening right now actually caught what he said. He said he logs the QSO, then he has to hit the enable transmit button again. So he's not running the super fancy automated mode of
So,
WSJT.
so wait. Let me get this straight. So you're running 3 radios. Your spots are changing the way they're supposed to, and you're actually pushing the buttons the way you're supposed to, and you're
Yep.
sitting there at those radios, right?
I think so. Yeah. This is not a fancy green screen.
And even though it's not a Dr. Pepper, Mountain Dew is a good choice.
Yeah.
It's funny because we ran a 3-op one time, and I can't even remember who the 3-ops were. But when the hunter got to the second op, he said, "And you're at the same park?" And they was like, "Yeah." And they get to the third operator. He said, "And you're at the same park too? And you're all 3 sitting there at the radio?" And I'm thinking, how are we passing the mic? Yes, we're all at the same.
I think we may have got the same guy when we were out at Fern Cave. I was passing the mic between my wife Anna and my best friend Ken. We were out there, and he just came back and said, "Well, how many more of you are out there? You're all 3 just sitting around a radio and passing the mic?" And we're just like, "Yeah, that's what we came out here to do."
It was funny too because a similar story when we were down at Jekyll Island, it was me and Sidewalk Cherry and Dan and Bobby, Whiskey Echo 4 Bravo Echo, and they were passing the mic and they were giving signal reports and saying, "You're 5'9" same park, 5'9" same," and they handed me the mic, and I said, "You're 5'9" different park."
Yeah, I remember.
What
wattage are you running right now on each band?
This is running 100 watts. This is running 9 watts because a little bit more than that, and it starts to get warm. And then 100 watts sidebands.
And you said earlier in your pack out kit you have 100 amp hour, and I think you said a 20.
Yeah. So
is the 20? Is the 20 like your oh crap backup, and you run primarily off the 100, or how does that work?
No, I run the one that I'm running SSB on off the 20 amp hour because it'll last longer.
Yep.
And then the one that's running digital, I'll run that off the 100 amp hour. It'll last forever. And then the KX3 runs off of 4.5 amp hour. This one, somewhere here. This one, and it runs all day as well. Like I'll get a good 6 hours out of all the batteries.
Nice.
if I'm running digital on the 20 amp hour, I get like maybe like 5 or 6 hours. Not as long as I would want. So I usually keep that one on single sideband, or I'll switch it down. The the 891 doesn't do too good at 100-watt digital constant use. So I'll usually switch that down to 40 if I want to use that one on digital with the 20 amp hour, and that usually kind of evens things out.
I'd be sitting running them all out of one battery box.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I hope you have a good chiropractor to tote all that stuff.
So,
Yeah,
so,
I need one.
So that's an interesting thing. First, PP Man wants to know, when you put up the cover on the box at night, if the two radios get together, what will they make?
I think they make a 101D.
That'd be nice.
Well, you're lucky they don't make an MP, because I'd have you storming my house. But and the other question is, because you said you said, what does the total kit weigh when you're bringing it out?
I have not weighed it, but it is a lot.
Yeah.
It is definitely a field day, and a short walk to a pavilion. It is on wheels, so that does help. And when I get to the truck, I do the same thing. I take this out, put it on one side, then wheel the base around and put it on the other side. So
I've
I'd
I've
have to
tried
weigh
to
it as well.
I've tried to wheel stuff though. It's nice when you first get out of your truck, when you're still on the blacktop, but once you get on the grass, it really don't help much.
See, you guys have not experienced king life. You guys need to get you a kingly POTA wagon.
You talking about your red flyer wagon?
No, I'm not. My red fire wagon. I have a nice wagon that will roll over concrete slabs, over mud, you name it. It'll go. And
Yeah. Josh wants to know, what kind of questions do you get at the park with that setup? The
is
the
this dude
rubbernecker,
tracking everything?
the,
There you go.
the looky loos.
I would say this is not really a setup that you would go to a park where you would have a lot of interaction because it's not an insignificant amount of equipment as far as like money goes. So I wouldn't necessarily take it to a super busy park. So I've only been out 3 or 4 times with multiple radios. The first time, just the usual, are you talking to aliens? Why are you doing this? Are you driving 20-foot spikes into the ground? Things like that.
It kind of looks. If anybody in the chat remembers this one we did with our buddy Scott, KE4WMF, it looks like his car wrecked and then ended up on the table. It's impressive. Eastern Standard Time, Michael says your POTA setup is better than most home ham shacks, and that's the damn truth.
Yeah,
it definitely is.
Now I bet you guys didn't take that when you all hiked into that park the other day when I got the 3 of you.
No, we did take the 891 and a 20 amp hour Bioenno though, so we were running 100 watts, but not much more than that. Just tarps and a ground pad, and that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Anybody else has any questions for Bryan? Shoot them in the chat. While we go over more of his stuff here, we'll ask away.
And you mentioned Scott and his car. Scott will be coming back to our stream very soon, and it won't be a car we're talking about. That's all. That's the only hint I'm giving you for that one. But he's coming back. Going to be an interesting topic as well.
Oh, I know what it is, but I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag.
No, because if you do, Terry will chase it.
That's right.
Happy birthday, by the way, Terry.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday, buddy.
And you're in the vlog, Dwight's on 40 meters.
Mo says laptop power. You just going to run off the internal power for your laptop, or is that DC chargeable or USB PD power delivery?
This is USB PD. So it depends on how many radios I'm running. If I'm running more than one digital, then I'll run. I have a framework, and then just a just a big Anchor USB PD power bank that delivers. I think this one does 60 watts, and it goes for forever. And then it lasts quite a while. I'm still at 100%, and I've been here since 2, so 2 my time, so 5.5 hours.
You've been running your Vibe Top solid for 5.5 hours off of that power bank.
Yeah, well, the battery bank does only have 1 bar left out of 9, so I'm getting close to where it's only going to be internal battery.
Yeah,
and then
you need to send me a link to your power bank.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I am
It's
interested in that power bank now, for sure.
And what kind of laptop are you running?
This is a Framework 14-inch, the AMD version. And then if I'm only using one digital radio, I'll take my M1 Mac, only because I really love running Polo on the Mac.
All right, and Mo wants to know exactly what power bank that is again.
Yeah.
This is a PowerCore 3 Elite 26K. It's 87 watt power delivery.
Nice.
And
Whiskey
I'll put it in the
Zero,
chat as well.
Whiskey Zero, Charlie Golf Charlie is curious about the home use of bandpass filters in multiple radios if using power on 1 or 2 out of 3 HF radios. So I guess I haven't messed too much with bandpass filters. Are they rated for a certain power level through them?
They are. So the ones that I have are rated for 200 watts. Is it 200 watts? Yeah, 200 watts. They make some that are up to, I think, 500, and I'm sure there are custom ones out there. The thing that's going to limit you is heat, and the more RF energy that you're absorbing outside of the band pass, the more heat you're going to have. And the more power you're putting through them, the more heat you're going to have. So it all kind of depends on your home setup. You could probably run one radio with a lot of power, and then have a 100-watt radio running single sideband and not a ton of power, and run the bandpass on the lower powered radio and get away with it without having a bandpass on the big radio. It just depends on so many different things. But at home running power, I'm not super familiar with running a lot of power, so I'm not sure.
N5FY is in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. And I'm going to butcher the name. I've watched the stream where you pronounced it, but I'm going to say Tuflin. I do have many of his antennas in my Gigaparks Explorer bag over there, which I use, and I love them. Polo is awesome. I love them too. Jason, KB1WSE, good to see you, buddy.
If you're lucky enough to catch one of Josh's batteries in his store, I would definitely suggest that one, because it works really, really great for QRP stuff. And it actually will run the mountain topper, where you can't where you can use a Biolino, but you have to do something to it. Josh's battery will actually just straight out handle it.
Oh, because the mountain toppers probably want a specific voltage.
Right.
They probably don't like 14 volts. It has to be like 11 something or
it's 11 something, and Josh's will do it. So
that's awesome. And
still works fine on my KX3 when I use it for that. So
heck yeah. All right. So how long today have you been at Joe Wheeler? Just approximately. And how many contacts have you made?
So today is a bad example for high number of contacts, because I'm going for my N1CC. But I did, let me see. Let me open up my Polo. When I was on phone, I didn't run phone for super long, but I got 74 contacts. And then on digital, I think I have maybe 50 on the KX3. And then on the 7300, I think I have about 100 or so.
That's still pretty impressive. Your best day in the park, if you had to recall it, running 3. How many QSOs do you think you've made at a single park in a day?
It was just a few days ago, 411.
Wow. That is
And
nice.
and that was in about 30 minutes, and then I took a little bit of a break, and then another about 3 hours or so. So 3.5 hours about.
And the biggest limitation of that, guys, is the 15 seconds of the FT8 window. You know, I mean, you have to wait. If it wasn't 15 seconds, he probably could have slammed out 800 contacts, you know?
Yeah, and I think probably most of the contacts are still going to be phone, because you can do phone contacts really, really quick. Even when I'm doing 2 digital FT8s, I still get about 150 QSOs an hour on phone. So that was about 2 hours or so of that. So it's basically, aside from setting up antennas, it's essentially just free contacts if you can click 4 buttons every 30 seconds.
We touched on it's a good idea to have everything ready before you go to a park, so you're not fumbling around trying to get cables out and everything else. And we can get really, really nitty in this and down deep. We can go so far as how you wrap your cables so you can deploy them quickly. What is your average setup time to putting your vehicle in park, shutting it off, and getting on the air?
So my first one was from my truck, and I had a 18-meter hamstick, or sorry, a 17-meter hamstick on the front fender, 25-foot vertical on the back mount, and then the 17-foot tripod 50 feet away. And that took maybe 5 minutes to set up. It's not very long. It took me a little bit longer today because I set up the spider beam, because I wanted to get 80 and hopefully, well, I already got my 160 as well, 160 meter contact. So that took a little bit longer just because it's more fiddling around with antennas. But yeah, if you're using tripods and telescopic whips and ham sticks, it's really, really fast.
Do you over under wrap your coax?
Absolutely.
I love it because you can just grab one end of it and throw the
Throw the
whole
rest.
spool, and it just goes out perfectly.
Yeah.
You know, I got a couple of questions. Well, one of them's a comment, and then one of them's a question. So, you know, my philosophy is 2 is none, and 1 is 2 is 1, and 1 is none. So I always have more than that. And just today, for example, I went out and then my vertical had an issue, and I couldn't run my vertical. And I'm looking at the park, and I'm like, I can't run an in-fed half wave here. There's just not enough room. So I ended up running one of my short random wires.
A ham stick.
No. No. I ran a good random wire actually, but my point being, I always have all this extra stuff. So when packing a kit, with already that much stuff, how much extra stuff do you have to bring to make sure you're going to be able to do that?
That entirely depends on how much you're willing to go down one radio, because you're essentially running one complete set of everything for every radio that you're running. So if you don't want to carry an extra coax and you're okay with running 2 radios, then you don't have to carry an extra. I am not. I would rather be way over prepared. So I try to pick the things that will take up the least amount of space as my spares. So I have an end-fed half-wave antenna, wire antenna. My coax is 316 for the spare coax, so I can do it in a pinch. But yeah, it just depends on if you want to risk not running that third radio.
When we meet up one day, I'm sure a lot of people in chat and James over here can tell you this. If you look in the back of my truck, I am ready for the apocalypse.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. That was just the stuff that I literally brought to the pavilion, extra coax and all that. My truck is still,
Yeah.
it looks like a nightmare.
Okay, and then a comment about Dan's over and under. How many different ways have you seen people do over and under? But it's still over and under, and it's still the same thing. But they'll all argue with you that you're doing it wrong.
I've seen a lot.
I've seen a whole lot of over and unders, and they all accomplish the exact same thing, guys.
Some people do it, like this, and they learn how to do it all up. But for my overs, I have to do that. My unders actually have to turn my hand around, grab the wire, and then kind of move it up like that. The end result's the same.
Right. I see people doing like some of these really crazy movements and stuff, and I'm like, I could never wrap coax like that. And I'm like, oh wait, I do. But I don't do all that movement. But then people will look at me like, you're doing that wrong. But yeah, every time I will take and screw my coax into my antenna and throw it to where my radio is going to be, and that's where it ends up at. No kinks, And that's another thing. If people are wrapping over and under their coax, they probably will not want you to roll up their coax for them.
That's true.
All right. Any more questions?
Yeah, give us some more.
Josh is saying one radio at high powered would wipe out the RX on the other radios. Yes, that is true. If you're running a lot of power, if you're running your antennas closer together, it can still bleed through your bandpass filters because they only reduce the incoming noise. So I think these ones they max out of band at 30 dB, I think it is, and then it's 40 dB right at the band edge. I'd have to look up the specs, but yeah, it reduces your output. So if you have a station right next to you and you have 60 over, you're not gonna get out of an S9 noise. Like it's still gonna be really, really bad.
The good takeaway here is if you're running a multiple radio setup, bandpass filters can help, obviously. Your other two best friends is distance between each antenna. Don't have them right next to each other if you can help it. And if you're running wires, run them perpendicular to each other instead of in parallel to each other. Hiking and Hammond, good to see you, buddy.
Always good to see Lou and Pink if she's here to make me cry.
Always.
Mickey Mouse in the house. Robbie, I promise my health will be better, good enough to come back to you, Mickey Mouse, soon, buddy. I feel bad when he comes to me and I have to call him in a regular voice. It just bugs me.
Yeah, and Joshua agrees. Don't touch my coax.
Oh yeah, I don't want anybody rolling my coax.
No, I rolled it last time. It was fine.
I still don't like when people roll my coax. You'll unhook my coax and from an antenna when I'm activating. What are you talking about?
That is true. I have done that.
Oh,
we are coming up almost to the top of the hour. If you have more questions for Bryan, shoot them in here quick so we can get to them.
Absolutely. It's she's an FT8 addict now. Well, Lou, tell her she needs the king has declared that FT8 is of the past. We're moving more into the past, and we're now doing PSK 31 in the parks. So tell her she's going to have to get me on PSK 31, Lou. I've been doing that quite a bit here lately at the parks.
I think my wife Anna gets Pink all the time on FT8.
We're like when your PP man who needs coax because he'll hook his antenna straight to his radio. We don't all run a paper clip for an antenna though, PP man.
Yeah, that would be a fun thing to do. A multi-radio activation, FT8 on one of them, PSK 31 on the other radio, and maybe let's pick something obscure like JS8 Call or Hellschreiber or something on the third one,
I still need to do a health build activation. I think that would be really cool.
You know, it's funny that you mention all this stuff. So we literally sat in an after chat one night, or no, it was Chill Pad, which is another Patreon benefit, and myself and Brian and Chris and we got my PSK 31 hooked up after months of talking about it. We got everything going. I started making contacts, and the next day, after months of talking about it, I was in the park calling CQ, and it was funny because you seen the Discord scrambling. You just,
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally typing in there like, "Oh God, I can't get it to download. I can't." Guys, I've been talking about this for months. You should have been ready. So
Then when you did it on stream, I wasn't expecting and had to get everything set up from scratch at the park. That was that.
yeah.
WD5JR, welcome. Oklahoma. Okay.
All right. So we're about to wrap this up. Brian, what do you got coming up here in the next week or so?
Not too much. Just I'll probably be at parks. What is today? 13th? Yeah, I don't have anything big. Just look out for me on the air.
Awesome stuff. Dan, what you got coming up?
Not a lot. Like Brian said, look out for him on the air. What 3 bands he's going to be on, nobody knows, but it's going to be a blast one way or the other. Brian, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your radio setup with us. You've taught me a lot about it, and I still think you're insane, but you're here with us, so this has to be a little bit of an insanity. But thank you so much for being here. It was a great thing, and I'm sure if anybody else has any questions and you're a Patreon member, we will be in the after chat, and I'll let James touch on that now.
That's right. I mean, well, you know, the insane part kind of, once you sign up for Patreon, I give you a drink of the Kool-Aid, and it's over from there. You know, you just get going a little crazy sometimes. But we like to do stuff like that, and Patreon is a great way to learn a lot of stuff and hang out with a lot of cool people. We do have after chats every Wednesday, but then periodically through the week we jump in Chill Pad, and yeah, sometimes it might be absolute nonsense in Chill Pad. But if you want to learn something, just like the other night, Terry was trying to get his FL Digi going, and him and another Patreon went into another ham radio Discord room and got it straightened out for him. So it's great stuff. And plus, you get to come to After Chat every Wednesday. And if you want to try that out, you can head over to Patreon right now and get a free 7-day trial. And the important thing, if you do that, because I do not get a notification when that people go free, but message me or Dan so we can get you in the after chat in Discord. That's the important part. But other than that, I'm going to be hanging out over there for a little bit until I haven't had very much sleep. I got about 12 ounces. Yes, I said.
You said 12.
It wasn't 12 ounces. I think it was 8, but it was a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
A lot of fluid drained out of my ear today. I've been down and out. That's why I haven't been doing late shifts. But I'll be on there for quite a bit. And tomorrow we'll be dropping a video at 4 o'clock like always. And I'll be in the parks. Other than that, thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. And 73, everybody.
See you guys.